Our lecture for today is on ethics in consumption, a new world of consumer behavior. As a way of introduction, let us look at some concepts. The first concept is consumption. Consumption is the demand side of the market and is the endpoint of the production process. It sends the signal for the production and supply of goods and services. The consumption of goods promotes healthy competition and introduction of better products in the market. Hence, it is important that the consumption behavior of people send the correct signal to the production side. The second concept is consumer behavior. Consumer behavior theory is the study of how people make consumption decisions. This includes what motivates them to buy, how the environment around them influences their behavior, and what marketing messages or pricing strategies they best respond to. Good news, a new world of consumer behavior is emerging. As we enter the world of consumer behavior, enterprises are finding that they must keep up with the constantly changing consumer preferences to win their respective industries. No longer bound by traditional norms, people are exploring new options for how they will live and interact with the world. To remain competitive, companies must understand and adapt to these changes. The concept of consumption choice had been introduced at the beginning of the 20th century, but the ethical consumer was recognized only in 1989. Ethical consumerism has not received as much attention in the past as it does today. Consumers are slowly appreciating the value of ethics and responsibility in consumption. So, ethical consumerism is a trend being driven by consumers who make purchasing decisions based on their core values rather than income, demographics, geography, or other factors. When consumers decide which product to buy based on their assessment of how ethical the producing company is, they are engaging in ethical consumer behavior. Consumers are focusing more and more on spending their money in a way that aligns with their values and beliefs. This trend aligns with Sustainable Development Goals number 12, which is about ensuring responsible and sustainable consumption and production to sustain the livelihoods of current and future generations. So, what are the drivers of ethical consumerism? Possible drivers of interest in ethical consumerism are wider media coverage, increased level of information, and greater availability of alternative products or substitutes. There is also evidence that new technologies such as interactive websites, social media pages, smartphone apps, QR codes, and blockchain have empowered consumers in making conscious choices by providing real-time information about companies' internal operations and by allowing them to spread such information more easily and quickly. No doubt, technology is enabling consumers to consume ethically through various applications. An example is Choose Cruelty Free that let consumers browse a list of cruelty-free companies to ease their in-store decision-making when buying cosmetics, toiletries, and household products. Now, let me introduce you to two concepts, the black box and the glass box in consumer behavior. So let's start with black box first. Before current technologies empower consumers, most companies were an opaque black box. The brand was limited to what was painted on the outside. Consumers looked at what has been shown, and either they liked it or they didn't. And this is where advertisements come and influence consumer taste and preferences. Consumers had little knowledge of what was going on inside company walls, and they had to rely on what companies chose to communicate to the outside, their mission statements, their values, their corporate social responsibility reports. In other words, there is asymmetric information with the leaders of the business having a high degree of control. But nowadays, companies have less control of what is painted on the outside. A brand used to be a black box. Now it is a glass box, thanks to the radical transparency made possible by a connected world. The brand is everything that is visible, which means that all internal processes can be seen from the outside, and companies are operating with greater transparency, thus making the internal culture a piece of a firm's customer-facing message. Given the shift in the visibility of internal processes, it is inevitable that corporate culture has become more customer-facing and needs to be managed accordingly. Internal culture is regarded as a value proposition that resonates with customers and a way to create a competitive edge. For a company used to competing in the market strictly on price or features, with little internal focus or cohesion, the idea that internal culture and processes are highly visible will be a very new one. But it will be a worthwhile process and add tremendous value if done correctly. Let me introduce you to another concept, the boycott and the boycott. So this is a way by which consumers reward transparency and punish misconduct. Ethical consumers typically engage in a variety of behaviors to stay true to their principles while interacting with companies. Let us look at boycott. Boycott is also called negative buying. It describes consumers' refusal to buy products and services from companies that harm the environment, community, the animals, suppliers, or employees. On the contrary, boycott, which is called positive buying, sees consumers deliberately choosing ethical products and services to reward companies for their policies. Other behaviors are ethical screening or rating. In this case, consumers proactively share information, either by publishing in magazines or posting in social media, about the ethical or the unethical corporate behavior of firms. Another concept is relational purchasing, in which we as consumers, we buy goods and that benefit someone else. We buy goods that has some benefit to local farmers, to economically disadvantaged students, and other marginalized groups. And then there is the last term called anti-consumerism, or a practice of voluntary simplicity, in which consumers choose to live a simpler life to minimize their impact. Let us now see the relation between ethical consumerism and brand loyalty. Are they different, or are there commonalities between these two concepts? So ethical consumers are voting for transparent companies as they decide to keep purchasing their products and are promoting them to others by spreading positive word of mouth. Moreover, according to a recent survey, 60% of consumers would pay a premium for sustainable and eco-friendly products. Younger generations who will likely have higher spending power in the coming years are leading this trend. Among the top reasons consumers mention as driving their brand loyalty practices are charity contributions, commitment to renewable materials, and involvement in the local community. Examples of successful campaigns waged by ethical consumer movements are dolphin-free tuna, foods that are free of genetically modified organisms, sweatshop-free clothing, fair trade coffee, cosmetic products free from animal testing, and conflict-free diamonds. Let me conclude by highlighting that a new world of consumer behavior is emerging. Consumers spend their money in a way that aligns with their values and beliefs. This trend supports SDG 12, on ensuring responsible and sustainable consumption and production to sustain the livelihood of current and future generations. Possible drivers of interest in ethical consumerism are wider media coverage, increased level of information, and greater availability of alternative products or substitute, and new technologies and applications such as interactive websites. Ethical consumers are voting for transparent products, for brands that have progressed from a black box to a glass box, made possible by a connected world. Ethical consumers typically engage in a variety of behaviors such as boycott, ethical screening, relational purchasing, and voluntary simplicity to stay true to their principles while interacting with producers. Brand loyalty is high for practices such as charity contributions, commitment to renewable materials, and involvement in the local community. Thank you